What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Triple Coverage Podcast, or as I should say, the Single High Safety Podcast. Today, I am all by myself. My name is Mitchell Graham. We are here for another episode of the Triple Coverage Podcast. Today, we are going to be recapping Week 9. We're going to be predicting Week 10. And oh boy, did we add another horse to the good old coaching carousel that is 2025. So, you know what? Let's start there. LSU has fired Brian Kelly after 4 seasons as the head coach of the LSU Tigers. What seemed like a good fit at first, where you kind of were looking at him like, oh, he doesn't fit the culture of LSU, but he wins football games. He recruited well, and he did have really nice success at Notre Dame, where you are hampered recruiting wise to the recruiting level that some schools are because of the academics and the Christian side of everything for Notre Dame. It was a guy that you come in, you think that, you know what, if he can win football games, people are going to shut up. And for the most part, the first couple seasons, he beat Alabama. They won 10 games. They always ended better than they started. But this year has just been out of sync, and I think it really started with his coaching staff. And we're going to get into previews. I guess I'll just talk about this game when we talk about the Brian Kelly. A&M went into Death Valley and embarrassed them. LSU had the lead at halftime. They had an 18-14 lead, and they come out, and then A&M scores 21 points in the third quarter, opens it up. You just see Brian Kelly just laying into Joe Sloan on the sideline, his offensive coordinator, who has been – I don't think this is a very bold statement, has been downright awful this year as the offensive coordinator for LSU, with an offense that has Garrett Nutt, has Harlem Berry, that has Caden Durham, that has Barryon Brown at the wide receiving position, Tradez Green at the tight end position. You've got so many guys. I forgot someone, but you've got so many guys in the offensive end, and your defense has been great. Blake Baker was a great hire. He's doing really good things with that defense, but the offense has been horrible all year. And I know Garrett Nussmeier is hurt. I love Garrett Nussmeier. He has not been the same this year. He's been hampered by play calling, I think, and it's been a real struggle. I mean, they came out and they beat Clemson, which everyone thought was a great win. Clemson's not very good, as we can see. They lost to Ole Miss. And now they've lost to Vandy, and then they lost to A&M back-to-back weeks. You go into Death Valley at night and you lose. That place can be hostile towards other people, but they were hostile towards Brian Kelly in that game. You could just tell that the mood there, it was like watching someone's career just crumble in front of your eyes. Now, A&M deserves a lot of credit in this game. Marcel Reed threw an interception, I think in the second quarter, threw an interception in the end zone that stopped A&M from scoring points. This could have been a lot worse. This game could have been a lot worse. A&M played great. A&M is dispelling a lot of the thing. Every single week there, we are getting closer to dispelling this whole, A&M can start well, but they can't finish well. Elko's got these guys playing well. Marcel Reed, 202 yards through the air, 108 yards on the ground, 4 total touchdowns. He was great. The defensive line was wreaking havoc all over LSU. Getting to Garrett Nussmeier, stuffing the run. This A&M team is dangerous. That's the reason why they're the highest-ranked SEC team going into Week 10. Would you have believed that A&M is the highest-ranked SEC team going into Week 10? I don't think you would have. But this team is really good. Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion are phenomenal wide receivers. They didn't have their best games. Barryon Brown was a leading receiver in this game with 60 yards. Like, it wasn't like they went crazy, but they have so many ways to beat you. They won a shootout against a Notre Dame team. They've won low games against Auburn and Mississippi State. A&M is really good. Now let's shift our focus back to LSU. Now LSU season, you think, 5-3, they just fired their head coach, they're done. They have a lot of chances to play spoiler here. But you know that all that's going to be on LSU's mind is who is our next head coach. I think it comes down to 3 names. I think you make the first phone call to Lane Kiffin, which is the consensus all across the board. LSU's a job that if they call you, you have to think about it. You call Lane Kiffin, he might say no. He might stay at Ole Miss. He might go to Florida. but I think he goes to LSU. If I was a betting man on this kind of stuff, I would pick this. I would pick that Lane Kiffin would be a member or would be of the LSU Tigers next year. I think your second call is to John Summerall. He's in state. The governor of Louisiana is heading up the search. So I think he would look, hey, I don't have to travel very far. I'm going to go to New Orleans and get the coach from down there and get him over into Baton Rouge. Good recruiter, really good head coach. He's done great things for Tulane after Willie Fritz left. This would be a phenomenal hire. I think that's your second call. And I think your third call is Kenny Dillingham. I think Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State, what he's done, I mean, what Kenny Dillingham has done to Arizona State, and I know this season's been up and down, but still leaps and bounds, even for them to be, they made the playoff last year. They nearly beat Texas they nearly beat Texas in the second round of the playoffs last year, which that game was crazy. Sam Levitt's really great. Kenny Dillingham raises the floor for the team, and I think that with the assets that LSU would bring you, I think he's a fiery guy. I think Kenny Dillingham is not a guy that we need to sleep on here about potentially getting this job. I know that Arizona State is, I think, his alma mater, but I think if LSU calls you, you go. If LSU calls Kenny Dillingham, I think he goes. Now, the one that everyone's saying, and I think, me personally, I think it could happen, but a lot of other people don't. The last guy, it would be Marcus Freeman. But I don't think Marcus Freeman will leave Notre Dame. At first, I was like, okay, I think he could. I don't think Marcus Freeman leaves Notre Dame anymore for LSU, even though that would be a knockout hire. Two other guys that they're mentioning I don't think are going to be a part of it is Clark Lee, Eli Drinkwitz, Joe Brady, offensive coordinator for the Bills, former offensive coordinator in the 2019 championship year for LSU, is another name that they've floated out there, is on their hot board. But again, I think it starts and ends with Lane Kiffin. If he says no, you go to John Summerall. If for some reason John Summerall doesn't get a call, you can go to Kenny Dillingham. So I think that's my three. I don't want to spend way too much time with this. I think the biggest loser of all this is Florida, because I think Florida was going to be a shoo-in to get Lane Kiffin if he were to leave. But now that LSU's there, LSU's a way better job than Florida. Those are both great jobs. Those are both top 10 top 20 jobs in college football. LSU's is better. LSU's a top 3 job. That's probably one of the best jobs that could come available. I gotta wash my throat out. I'm coughing. So that was a game that that happened. I was traveling a lot on Saturday. So Vanderbilt, Missouri, I actually didn't get to watch because I was driving during this whole time slot. And I could only put one game on my phone while I was driving. This game was not the game I watched. Unfortunately, Vanderbilt, from what I've heard, dominated the red zone. Bo Prabila breaking his leg out for the season. That hurts. Matt Zollers came in and he did some nice things, but I don't know what Missouri can do going forward. But look, Vanderbilt keeps winning football games. Vanderbilt's 7-1. Another opportunity this week when they play Texas on the road. Huge challenge. Can Vandy win a game on the road, an important game on the road? We've seen them win important games at home. Can they win an important game on the road? They won this game, big win. Game day was in town, 17-10 win. We also saw BYU and Iowa State in that same 3:30 time slot. Look, people are going to keep doubting BYU. People are going to keep doubting BYU, and Bear Bachmeier and Kalani Sitake have got this team playing really good football. Parker Kingston is a phenomenal wide receiver. They've got one other guy that I can't remember his name. They went out and beat a really good Iowa State team on the road by 2 touchdowns. Tied going into the fourth quarter. They win it by 2 touchdowns. So BYU's going to – if BYU keeps winning, BYU right now, top of the Big 12, they're going to keep going. I know they started 8-0 last year, but I think the question around BYU is they had such an easy schedule to start. How are they going to do in the gauntlet of their schedule? Well, they won the Holy War against Utah. They traveled to Ames and beat Iowa State. Now they got to go to Lubbock and play Texas Tech. Then they got to play TCU, and they got to go to Cincinnati, and they play UCF. You're telling me if that team loses one of those two, they're in the Big 12 championship and they're probably in the college football playoff. Kalani Sitake has done a great job with this BYU team, especially losing Jake Retzlaff. A month before the season starts, you have to go and get this true freshman who wears number 47 to play quarterback. BYU is a slept-on team this year. BYU has been so consistently good. They've won some close games, but good teams win close games. They've been challenged, and now they've won back-to-back really good games. One of them on the road, one of them basically a neutral site for the Holy War. They're both in Utah. Now another big test next week, going to play Texas Tech, a team that really can't afford to lose another game. And so BYU got that win over Iowa State. It was a good win. Indiana dominated UCLA 56-6. They keep doing what they're doing. Mendoza didn't have his best game, but they just dominated this game. They ran up the score. I love that Signetti did that. That's really all I have to say about that game. Oregon wins a scrappy, low-scoring game against Wisconsin. Wisconsin has no offense. I'm very surprised Luke Fickell still has a job sitting at 2-6, but Oregon wasn't very impressive in this game. Wisconsin was destroyed. Got destroyed by Alabama, destroyed by Michigan, destroyed by Ohio State, and then it was kind of close against Oregon. So Oregon's got to pick it up. I think Oregon's in a tough spot where they have an easy schedule. They got to play Iowa this week, though. Iowa is no slouch. Iowa should be ranked in the top 25. This is a big challenge this week, and if they're going to be struggling against a team like Wisconsin, then Iowa could sneak up and beat them. I think this is a week where they got to get it right. The game that I did watch, two games that I did watch, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma was going to win this game. At home, good defense, but man, that stat about them not playing a top 50 pass offense before that game. I did not know that stat when I went in to pick this game. I should have known it, and I probably wouldn't have picked them, but Ole Miss did have what they got what they wanted in this game, but I think Ole Miss should have won this football game. They missed so many opportunities. You had Sategna with the huge punt return, and then he fumbled it. Ole Miss goes down, kicks the field goal, makes an 8-point game, and then Mateer hasn't been the same since the thumb injury. I still think this team is talented as crap. They had another 100-yard rusher. They've had a 100-yard rusher in back-to-back games. I think that's huge for Oklahoma. They can keep doing that, and I think Mateer's only going to get healthier. But Ole Miss won a really good game. Another great road performance for Trinidad Chambliss. And look, Lane Kiffin played well. This was a battle of defensive mind versus offensive weeks. And I think Lane said it best. He's like the week before against Georgia, they let up a lead in the fourth quarter. This time they didn't want to do that. They scored 9 points. They were down going into the fourth quarter. They outscore Oklahoma 9-0 in the fourth quarter. They won this game. They took it on the road. Great props to Ole Miss. It was a great win. And now Ole Miss has a very, very favorable road to get into the college football playoff. And Lane Kiffin, with his final audition to all these teams that want him, or if Ole Miss keeps going far, I don't think he's going anywhere. Now, the game that I actually watched while I was driving, Alabama, South Carolina. Oh, man. This game was dominated by South Carolina. Genuinely dominated by South Carolina. They go down the field, huge drive, they get 3. A missed opportunity. Holding penalties, sacks allowed, missed opportunity. They get a 3-and-out on Alabama. An Alabama offense that was not very good in this game. The North Sellers throws just a little swing pass to his running back. He fumbles it. It falls into the arms of an Alabama defender. They get a quick pick 6. They're up 7-3. But again, South Carolina controlling the ball on offense. They make one mistake here, one mistake there. It's 7-6 at half, or 14-6 at halftime. South Carolina's offense or defense was phenomenal. They come out in the third quarter, force a fumble for Ty Simpson. and South Carolina takes the lead, 16-14. 15-14. Yes, 15-14. You're thinking, holy crap, can South Carolina win this game? Then the start of the fourth quarter, Alabama looked horrible. And South Carolina goes down. Lenore Sellers with a huge throw down to Nick Harbor. They take a 22-14 lead. And you're sitting there like, South Carolina crumbles. I think at that point in the game, South Carolina should have been up like 17 or 20 points. Like they played a infinitely better game than Alabama. But Kalen DeBoer has got Alabama playing differently this year. They went out, Alabama took advantage of it, and they won the game. They scored 15 unanswered to win this game 29-22. I think the Alabama team last year would have lost this game 29-14. I mean, Zach, I know you're in the chat. If you agree with me, I think the Alabama team from last year would have lost this game. But this is a different Alabama team. Ty Simpson kept his head up. Ty Simpson kept looking. Ty Simpson kept going through his reads, making plays. But not everything's positive coming out of this game for Alabama. Their run has been phenomenal since the Florida State loss. They've won 7 in a row. Obviously, they beat 4 straight top 25 teams. Alabama has a running back problem. Alabama cannot run the football. So it's putting all the pressure on Ty Simpson, all the pressure on Jeremy Bernard, who's been their leading rusher, I think, in 3 straight games now, which is ridiculous. Alabama has a running game problem. So if you can get pressure on Ty Simpson, if you can fall back and play good enough coverage, you can beat Alabama because they pose no threat running the football. They've ran the football well against one team. I think it was Vanderbilt. They ran the ball well in that game. Jam Miller had a good game. Now, Jam Miller not being healthy a lot of the season has hurt that. But still, even with Jam Miller, they have not been a sharp rushing team. And I think that is one of those things that is preventing at least me from seeing Alabama as not being undefeated in these last 4 games. LSU, yeah, they just lost their coach, but LSU is going to come out hungry. Garrett Nussmeier's a senior. He's not just going to give up on the season. There's a lot of seniors out there. And the interim coach that LSU has loves Louisiana. He loves LSU. So he's going to go out there and he's going to try and he's going to get those guys up. Danger situation there as LSU as they play Alabama there. They got to play Oklahoma. I know it's in Tuscaloosa. That's probably a win. But then you got to go to Jordan Hare against Hugh Freeze, who's a guy, if he's still the coach at Auburn by that point, he has beaten Alabama multiple times. So you have to figure out the run. And it even extends beyond that. None of this matters. To beat a team like A&M, to beat an Ohio State, to beat an Indiana, heck, to even beat some of these other top teams, to beat a Georgia again, you have to be able to run the football. And so they got to figure that out. They have the athletes to do it. This was a good comeback win. This was a great win. Kalen DeBoer needed a win like this against an unranked opponent, which is crazy to say because he's been beating ranked opponents. But this win felt even more important because this is a game they would have lost last year, but they have a lot of things to fix. They got to be able to run the football. Sound off in the comments what you think going forward about that. We got 3 viewers. Thank you, guys. But I think Alabama has a running back problem, an actual running back problem. But I think that's nothing they can't fix. This Ty Simpson is probably the Heisman right now, him and Fernando Mendoza. He didn't have his best game, and they still won. It's pretty dang impressive. A game I didn't watch but was pretty electric, Virginia, North Carolina. North Carolina took number 16 Virginia to the wire, took them to overtime. North Carolina went for 2 to try to win the game. Try to go for 2 to win the game, and they're like inches short. It is crazy how close that was. Tennessee, Kentucky, 56-34. Tennessee got whatever they wanted through the air. but so did Kentucky. We're going to get into Tennessee's defense later on, but ugly performance from Tennessee's defense against a Kentucky offense that is not great, hasn't really done much against many teams. It was ugly for Tennessee. Should not have been this close. Memphis gets a big comeback win against USF and a huge game for playoff jockeying to try to get that high unranked group of, or the high group of six ranking. They come back, score 17 in the fourth quarter. Again, I didn't watch much of this game. Texas, Mississippi State's the last game we're going to talk about. Arch Manning came out and played his best game, his best half of football. Poor Mississippi State lost this game. Man, I think I want to give all the credit in the world to Texas for coming back and winning this game, but I think Mississippi State lost it. I mean, you were dominating this football game, up 31-14, I think at one point, 38 to, yeah. You got to win the game, man. You have to win that game. That is the game you have to win. Mississippi State has played every team they've faced, they've played close. They can't win. I think what Zach said, South Carolina just doesn't know how to win yet. I don't think Mississippi State knows how to win yet. And man, that hurts, because what a win that would have been at home with all the cowbells. But Arch Manning stepped up. I know Arch Manning got hurt. It was Matthew Caldwell that threw the touchdown. Matthew Caldwell's played a lot of football, so it was a good, I think he's a good backup. Came in, won the game for him in overtime. Big win for Texas. Kept their season alive. Is that going to flip a switch for Texas? We'll get into that game preview. I think it's the first game that we're picking tonight. Will that flip a switch for Texas? Will Texas now be, okay, we found an identity. Arches has a concussion. He'll be out a week. But we found an identity. Offense was kind of flowing finally involved our playmakers. We were finally operating like a Sarkisian type offense. How is that going to look going forward? Big test this week against a really good Vanderbilt team. And you know what? I think that is probably a perfect segue, unless anyone in the comments wants to sound off on a game. Arch has a concussion. Arch is in concussion. Arch has a concussion. Arch is not playing in this game. Zach, yeah, he's out. He has a concussion. He's not going to be cleared to play. I think that it's like a 95% chance that Arch doesn't play. I don't think it matters. Anyways, perfect segue, because I'm the king of perfect segues. Zach is freaking out, peeing his pants because he thinks his pick's going to be wrong. The first game is Vanderbilt traveling to Texas. Vanderbilt going to Texas. This is an 11 a.m. kickoff in Austin. 11 a.m., 12 Eastern, obviously, 11 Central. Texas coming off that win against Mississippi State. Vanderbilt coming off a huge win against Missouri. You think, okay, Vanderbilt's been great all year. What has Vanderbilt not done? They haven't beat one of these quality opponents on the road. All their big wins have been at home. And this is Texas's first time at home in over a month, which is crazy. We'll get into another one here for this next game, which is the most ridiculous stat I've ever heard and is stupid, but we'll get into it in a minute. But I think this game, Matthew Caldwell starting for Texas, they're going to have a different look. I think they try to limit possessions in this football game, which is what Vandy wants to do offensively. Vandy's not a huge vertical threat down the field. Texas can stop the run, and that's what Vandy leans on. Diego Pavia hasn't thrown for over 200 yards, I think, against a Power 4 opponent all season. Now, they're a great team on the ground. They make plays. They win in the red zone. I think Texas wins this game even with Matthew Caldwell. I've got Texas winning this game close. Zach's comments on this game, he actually typed out things. He said, Texas comfortable, playing at home for the first time in over a month. They'll be fired up, and they really only struggle on the road. So that is Zach's synopsis. Cody has Vanderbilt close, which is a great pick. This is a toss-up game. This is going to be a really good game. So I'm very interested to see how this one goes. Miami travels to Dallas, Texas for only the second meeting all time between Miami and SMU. This is Miami's. Zach, if you're still in this chat, I don't know if you know this stat. November 1st is when this game will take place. It is the first time all season that Miami will play a game outside of the state of Florida. Let that simmer in. This is the first time. It is November 1st. November 1st. This is the first game they are playing out of the state of Florida. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah, agreed. That is ridiculous. I think Miami wins this game. They have to. They have to bounce back. SMU, horrible offensive performance last week. But SMU has all the cards on the table still. They're only a one-loss ACC team. This is a big game. It's a big game. Josh Pate will be in town for this game. He's traveling to Dallas to watch this game. I think Carson Beck has a bounce-back game. SMU did not play well. I think SMU is going to be fired up. I think Miami wins this game close. On the road, again, outside of the state of Florida for the first time is going to have some sort of effect. Another 11 a.m. kick, Central Time. A lot of those this year for big games. Big noon, but, not for the Big Ten because the Big Ten schedule has sucked this year, but that's another conversation for another time. I'm not going to have that conversation when I'm doing a solo show. I'd love to talk about that to people, but how bad the Big Ten slate has been this year, how bad the Big Ten scheduling has been. And, I mean, it hurts with Penn State not being good. I get it because this week would have been Penn State, Ohio State, big noon kickoff. If Penn State was good, it would have been a different story, but horrible. But again, I think Miami wins this game close. SMU has a bottom two defense against the pass this year. They have let up 100 yards to every team that they've played wide receiver one when they've played power opponents. Let over 125 yards for each power four team's number one receiver. And Miami has a pretty dang good wide receiver one and a pretty dang good wide receiver two. I think Carson Beck feasts through the air, but I think SMU can keep up with them. So Miami wins this game close. What Zach says is Miami big. Rhett Lashley has already accepted a job somewhere else. Wow. So that is an interesting take. I don't know where Zach thinks that he has already kind of accepted a job, but that is a very interesting take there. Cody's also got Miami close in this game. So everyone's got Miami, but in a different variation. That probably means SMU is going to win this game at home. And look, their season's resurrected if they win this game. Just saying. Their season's resurrected if they win this game. Next game. A little interesting matchup here. Navy is on the road playing in Denton against North Texas. Is this not a ranked matchup? Holy crap. Yeah, because I don't think either of these teams are ranked, which is ridiculous, by the way. I'm trying to find this game. Neither team ranked. Another noon kickoff, another 11 a.m. Central Time kickoff here. Navy is 7-0, North Texas 7-1. Neither of them are ranked. We had to rank USC this week because they were unranked. They didn't play a game last week, but let's move them back in. Let's move them back to 23, right? Iowa's not ranked, but let's move USC back into the top 20 to 25 because, they didn't lose on the bye week. They didn't lose, so let's move them back in. But teams like Navy, North Texas, and Iowa are not ranked. AP poll is a joke. We're not going to get into that. This is an interesting game to me, though. Navy underrated. Blake Horvath, 814 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. He's doing exactly what he did last year. This Navy team's really good. This Navy team's going to keep winning. 5-0 in the American. I forget that they play in the American. I'm not going to lie. I forget that they actually play in a conference. So does North Texas. And North Texas, Drew Mestamaker did not have any experience in high school, folks. This kid did not play quarterback very much. Coming in, and this kid is a wizard now. Threw for 600 yards last week. North Texas can sling the pill. I think Navy's also going to try to limit possessions in this football game. But I think North Texas has too many big plays down the field. This is not going to be another USF situation where USF is just bombing it and they're trying to keep up with each other. Mestamaker makes a mistake here or a mistake there. I think North Texas wins this game, but North Texas wins this game close because Navy tries to limit the possessions in this game. Won't be as high scoring as usual North Texas games are, but I think they pull it off. They're at home. That's where I give them the advantage. We got Cody. He's got Navy winning this game close, moving to 8-0. I would think they would be ranked if they're sitting at 8-0. That's just my view. But the AP is not going to matter here in a minute because we're about to go to the college football playoff poll. Thank the Lord, even though they're inconsistent too, but thank the Lord that we're finally going to be free of the shackles of the AP because the AP sucks. Zach has got North Texas comfortable. The head coach at North Texas, I said this, but I'm going to give Zach his due diligence here. The head coach at North Texas is getting a lot of buzz right now. He turned a freshman quarterback that never started in high school into a guy that threw for over 600 yards last week and is having a great year. So Zach also notes, I'm going to put this note up on the screen here. North Texas quarterback trained Pat Mahomes, Cam Ward, and John Mateer. So the guy knows quarterbacks. Drew Mestamaker, pretty dang good. Pretty dang good list to be on of guys that I think is Morris. I think head coach's name for North Texas, our last name is Morris. But anyways, Zach has North Texas comfortable. Next game, Arizona State at Iowa State. Interesting football game here because both teams coming off a loss. Arizona State coming off a loss to Houston, 24-16 is kind of ugly. And Iowa State coming off that loss to BYU. I think Arizona State wins this game comfortably. I think this is a bounce back game. The way that Zach was talking about Rhett Lashley, I think might be true for Matt Campbell. I think it's a very, very soft, not much buzz going around right now. I think Matt Campbell might be interviewing some places. He might not have his team all the way ready. I think Arizona State wins this game, and Arizona State wins this game comfortable. Zach has Iowa State close. Matt Campbell gets this team off the schneid. They're on a 3-game losing streak, but I think they snap it this weekend. So me and Zach have differing opinions here. Cody agrees with me. Arizona State comfortable. On the road. So there's a points opportunity for Zach. He won't get it, though. Come on. He won't get it. Zach, if you want to send the points update, if you actually have that available, I feel like you're a moderator in my chat right now. This is how this feels right now. Show, bro. Come on. Anyways, next game. Oh, man. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Georgia versus Florida neutral site in Jacksonville. Everbank Field, if that's still what it's called. I don't know what it's called. It used to be called TIAA Bank Stadium. It's been called Everbank Field. I don't care. Florida's first game after firing Billy Napier. That scares me a little bit. It does. Zach even says, I think Florida comes out and shows a lot of things that Georgia's never seen. Agreed. And at least them getting an early lead, but the second half, Georgia runs away with it. I agree with that. I agree that early. Thank you, Zach. 109, Zach. 107, Cody. Me at 87. We're not going to talk about that. I got plenty of time for a comeback, okay? This is going to be a perfect week. I'm not going to miss. And then my Superdog's going to win, and I'm going to be right back in it. So it's not going to matter. Last game at Everbank ever. That's true. Because then we're going to Mercedes-Benz next year, which is crazy. Just let us play on site. Just let us play at our fields. I want to go to the swamp. I want them to come to between the hedges. Like, come on. Anyways, I don't think Florida has the it factor offensively to keep it close for very long. I think I slightly disagree with Zach. I think Florida might take an early lead in the first quarter, but I think Georgia leads at halftime. I think Georgia leads after the third quarter, and I think Georgia's backups are in by the fourth quarter. I just think that this team has now unlocked a new edge. I think Gunnar Stockton, this offense are in a flow. Zachariah Branch, the running backs have been phenomenal, and our other weapons are coming alive. It's going to be a big game for Noah Thomas. Can Noah Thomas step up now that Colby Young's out? Dylan Bell, London Humphreys, there's so much talent on this team. You saw Lawson Lucky have a 3-touchdown game against Ole Miss. and you saw Oscar Delp get more involved. The tight ends are starting to get involved. There was a Bo. I think Glenn Schumann needs a good defensive game. I think Glenn Schumann needs to get his team up to play 4 quarters. At least play 3. At least play 3 quarters. And I think Georgia wins this game big. Zach's got Georgia comfortable. And Cody, let's see. Cody's got Florida close. Surprise, right? Cody has the Florida Gators beating Georgia close. That's heresy. We're going to move on. I hate Florida. I don't say that about many teams. I genuinely despise the Florida Gators. And I hope they get the worst possible quarterback or worst possible head coaching hire this offseason. Frick Florida. Cut the head off the Gator, just like Nate Frazier did last year, which was awesome. That's the best. That was the best penalty he's ever gotten. Next game, Virginia at Cal. Virginia playing good football. They keep winning. If they keep winning, they're gonna keep inserting themselves into the playoff picture. Here, they're playing against a okay California team. This is a game that I'm kind of lethargic towards. I don't really swing either way. It's a 3:45 p.m. kick, which is just a crazy time, man. I like Jaron Kiawe-Sagapu-Tele, the true freshman for Cal. They're 5-3, but Virginia's 7-1. I've got Virginia winning this game close. It's always tough to travel to the West Coast. We've seen that at the Big Ten and the ACC. It's been a problem, which is why it's stupid to have these guys playing in the same conference and always traveling like this. I think it's a sleepy start, 12:45 kick, California time. I think Virginia pulls it out, though. I think Virginia can run the ball better. I think they can put some pressure on the true freshman, and they win the football game. That's where I'm rolling there. Zach has Virginia close. Virginia's played in a lot of close games, so they know how to win being on the road, and traveling all the way is going to lead to another nail-biter, but I think this team wins close. Me and Zach are kind of on the same page. Cody has Virginia close as well. So we're all kind of thinking the same thing here. Georgia travels to NC State. Georgia Tech travels to NC State. 7:30 kick on the road. This might be Georgia Tech's toughest game so far. And I know they beat Clemson, who was ranked at the time, but they have 0 ranked wins. Current teams that they've played, 0 of them are ranked. And I get Georgia Tech has had a great season. It's a really good football team. But I think the first ranked team they're going to play is Georgia, which is just it's crazy. And I mean, it's more of an ACC problem because they've played a lot of ACC teams. They've had to go to Duke. They've had to go to Wake Forest in a game that they probably should have lost. They got to go to NC State, to Boston College. I think that it's not Georgia Tech's fault that the ACC is down, but it is a pretty crazy stat. They don't have a single win over a ranked opponent. Well, Georgia has, I think, 2 and Alabama has 4. Georgia has 3 and Alabama has 4, which is crazy. That is crazy to me. My pick is Georgia Tech close. This game being at night, Dave Doran is gonna have his team ready to play this football game. I'm trying to play spoiler. I think this game, I think NC State might even hold a lead late into this game. And it's going to be one of those games where CJ Bailey, Hollywood Smothers has Cody sitting in a fetal position, rocking back and forth, really nervous about this game. I think Haynes King, though, pulls it out, man. Haynes King is really good in these spots. They've got a great run game with just Jamal Haynes. I think Georgia Tech wins this game close. But again, not a ranked opponent. It's a 4-4 team, a team that's 1-3 in the ACC. So a lot of Georgia Tech. I would not be surprised if the college football playoff poll has Georgia Tech a little bit lower than the AP poll because of their strength of schedule, their strength of record. It's not very good, but if they keep winning, they're going to make the playoff. I think they can lose a game and still make the playoff. If they lose to Georgia, I think they're in the playoff no matter what. If they're 11-0 going into the Georgia game, I think they're in the playoff no matter what. Even if they lose that game and lose the ACC championship game. 11 wins as an ACC team, I think you're in a 12-team playoff, so that shouldn't matter. Zach has Georgia Tech close. I think North Carolina State keeps the game close, but Georgia Tech wins. The Tech lover, the Tech fan has Tech comfy. Next game, Oklahoma at Tennessee. Josh Heupel, former quarterback for Oklahoma. now obviously the head coach of Tennessee. I think this is a bounce back game for Oklahoma. And I think that Tennessee's defense is so bad that I think Mateer's going to have a lot of success. I think Mateer's going to throw the ball down the field to Isaiah Sategna. They got one other guy, Burks, I think is his name. Huge plays, big throws down the field. I think Oklahoma wins this game on the road at night in Neyland. I think they win. And I've been high upon the Oklahoma train all year. I picked them to go to the SEC championship game. I didn't pick them to lose to Ole Miss, obviously. I didn't pick them to lose to Texas. Actually, I did. I think I did. I switched it the last second, but then, yeah. Anyways, that doesn't matter. I think they win this game. I think they get enough pressure on Joey Aguilar, who's not very mobile. This is still a really high pressure rate team. R. Mason Thomas is going to get going off the edge. And Aguilar's not like Trinidad Chambliss. He's not going to be able to evade every single rush. Tennessee's going to make some mistakes, be behind the sticks. And I think Oklahoma wins this game with some big plays. Oklahoma wins this game close on the road. I read Zach's thing before this. He has Tennessee winning this game comfortable. He says Josh Heupel does not lose to Oklahoma. He takes every game against them personally, and his team backs him up. Also, Oklahoma does not look the same as they did in the beginning of the year. Their offense does not look good. I don't think their offense looked bad against Ole Miss, so I'll rebut that. I think their offense was fine against Ole Miss. They made some big plays. But they also had a turnover at midfield because on a punt return from Isaiah Sategna, which would have drastically, I think, changed the game. They're a big play team. Tennessee lets up a lot of big plays, let up 34 freaking points to Kentucky. That's a big issue for me. That's why I go against him. But Zach has Tennessee winning this game comfortable. Cody agrees with me, has Oklahoma close. So another big point opportunity there for Zach to extend his lead. Next game, USC at Nebraska. I think I've mentioned this game a couple of times because they moved USC back into the top 25, which they've been a good team this year. They've got 2 losses. They went out and they out-physicaled Michigan and won that game. They lost a heartbreaker to Illinois, and they probably should have beat Notre Dame on the road. They played a really good game against Notre Dame on the road. Now they go to Lincoln on the road, and they're a favorite. You put them in the top 25 because you hate Nebraska. The AP poll hates Nebraska. Nebraska has lost 28 straight to ranked opponents. And you put USC back in the top 25 after not playing a game last week. They hate Nebraska. But you know what? I don't care. I think the streak is snapped. Give me Nebraska close in this game. The run game, Dylan Raiola, I think they limit. Again, I've said this a lot tonight. Emmett Johnson is going to limit possessions. Nebraska has a really good pass defense. Now, they haven't played really a great pass offense, very similar to the Oklahoma situation. And this game is close. I think Dylan Raiola, Emmett Johnson make a play. Make a late play in this game, and Nebraska breaks the streak. Nebraska breaks the streak. Zach's going the other way. Zach's got USC close. He says, I'm done believing in this Nebraska team. They looked bad against Minnesota and barely squeaked out a win against Northwestern last week. Give me the Trojans to win this game. Jaden Mayava is a dog. That's from the mouth of Zach. By the way, I don't think that the coaching thing is going to be a distraction anymore. Matt Rule just signed like a 5-year extension like 3 hours ago. So he's locked in at Nebraska. So I think that full focus. I think at Minnesota game, they just didn't play well. They got to bounce back from that game. I think they do. Zach doesn't think so. Zach's got USC close. Cody agrees with me. Again, me and Cody on the same page. He's got Nebraska close. So there's going to be some movement on the leaderboard here, folks. There's going to be some movement. It could just be Zach extending his lead. It could be me and Cody, and Cody taking the lead and me catching up, making up some ground. You'll see, though, because Zach and Cody did something stupid for how close that they are. I don't understand it, but whatever. Final game, I guess Zach would say probably called this one the game of the week when he was previewing it. 10:15 kickoff on the East Coast. Roll signed a 3-year extension, and Baylor took the Panthers job 4 months later. This is different. He didn't want to be a Baylor. He wants to be a Nebraska. I forgot Matt Rule coached the Panthers. Wow. Well, you just derailed me because that is crazy. Anyways, Cincinnati travels to Utah. Tough place to play, but my goodness, is Brendan Sorsby a dog. Cincinnati, underrated team, 5-0 in the Big 12, 7-1 overall, lost that opening game against Nebraska and has been dang good ever since. And that's why I think Brendan Sorsby and Cincinnati go into Utah and win this game. I think they do it. I think Cincinnati wins this game. Utah's favored by 10.5 at home. Disrespectful to Cincinnati. I get Utah's a great team at home, hard to beat. But Cincinnati has been really, really good this season. 10.5 points is a lot. That is a bet that I would place down. If we weren't picking this game, that'd be an easy super dog for me to take. I've got Brendan Sorsby in Cincinnati winning, I guess, upsetting number 24 Utah on the road. Zach got Utah comfortable. He says hard to beat this Utah team at home. I think Utah comes out pissed off after losing the Holy War, and they win a big game to keep themselves alive in the Big 12 hunt. I can see that too. That's a very good, smart pick. And Cody Batten's got Cincinnati close. Man, Zach, you might have a huge lead after the end of this week. What a crazy, 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 crazy week, man. This is going to be great. Now, you would think with Zach and Cody being within 2 points of each other, the Superdog would be very important every week. Well, they done picked the same team, which we're allowing this year. They're both going Wake Forest to cover 10.5 against Florida State. Florida State hasn't won an ACC game in like 414 days. Insane stat. Wake Forest isn't much better. I know Wake Forest almost beat look, I'm going to say it. We got 2 viewers in here. You going to cancel me? Wake Forest got screwed. Wake Forest should have beat Georgia Tech. So I'll digress from there. They should have beat Georgia Tech. Zach agrees too. I bet you he does. He's going to say, Mitchell, I agree with you, and you are right, and you are smart. And he's going to say that. And he's going to say it. I'll pull it up when he says it too. I'm going to put it on the screen. But Wake Forest to cover against Florida State. It's a good pick. But why they went the same pick, man? They just, they just want to both pull away from me, I guess. They just want to leave me in the dust even more, even though I'm down 22. All right, down 22. Should start putting the backups in. Anyways, my super dog, I'm going to go to the Plains. Wow. Thank you, Zach. What a man. Why is my co-host? What a man. I agree, and you were smart. Man, I really needed to hear that today. Thank you for that. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to the Plains. Kentucky's getting 11.5 against Auburn. Kentucky covers. Auburn might be starting Ashton Daniels this week. I think Kentucky's going to be able to Cutter Boley's good, man. I think Cutter Boley's going to be really good. If they can hold on to him, maybe Mark Stoops is out the door this year. If Cutter Boley stays, they can get a better offensive, more innovative mind in there. I think Kentucky could outright win this game and send Hugh Freeze packing. But I think they at least cover. I think this game's close, low scoring and close. And I think that's the show. I mean, we had 2 to 3 viewers consistently. I know Zach was one of them, but there was someone else in here that was popping their head in and out and listening to my beautiful voice here on a solo show Thursday, talking about week 9, predicting week 10, talking about the coaching carousel, which is crazy. And honestly, if I had all these people, I had my 2 guys with us, we probably could have talked about coaching carousel for 20, 25 minutes with all the different jobs that are open. But you know what? Nice 49, 50-minute show. Zach goes like an hour and a half when he goes by himself, which is crazy. I can't do that. I think this is pretty good for me. 50 minutes is pretty good. I used to have my own solo show for basketball, and I would go like 25 to 30 minutes because it's just hard to talk. But there's a lot to talk about this week, a lot of predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I will not be here next week. Newsflash, Zach. Newsflash, Zach. I was going to tell you later. I will not be here next week because I have to draft a team because I am a head coach for a rec basketball league, and our draft is next Thursday from 6 to 8 o'clock. So I will not be here unless we start after 8 o'clock, which we probably could. We'll figure that out on the side. Anyways, we will see you here next week on YouTube on a Thursday, breaking down week 10, previewing week 11. I've been Mitchell Graham. Zach's been in the chat offering his condolences and his support and his comments. Cody, we love you. We hope you're back on the show next week because we miss you. The fans miss you. Better win the chip. I will. All right. I've been Mitchell Graham. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go eat dinner. I'll see y'all. Bye.